For this year's Ultimate Ride Getaway, Norm Wells and myself decided it was high time to scratch Sturgis, South Dakota off our bucket list. Our base of operation for this 5-day adventure was the outlaw town of Deadwood. However, on the day we were supposed to ride out to the Badlands, we woke up to the shocking news that we were about to be buried by a freak snowstorm. So instead of riding, we flew. Now, safely back in Canada, we decided we should review the lessons learned during this, our 13th Ultimate Ride. So Norm, for this week's Ultimate Ride, I thought we should sit down and debrief after following along our Sturgis, South Dakota diary. And here we are, obviously, back in Canada. But if you've been following along this season's Ultimate Ride, our 13th, by the way, it was a really interesting trip because for the first time in a long time, things went south in South Dakota.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we had really planned this well. We had planned it quite a ways out, and we had gone down at a time of the year where we thought we'll be fine. You know, it's September or so, and the weather should still be great down there. And there's so many cool things to see from the monuments, and yeah, we got a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, so if you followed along over the last 10 weeks with that particular Ultimate Ride diary, you'll know that in episode last week that we just aired, we made a run for the airport. We were lucky to get out. When we left South Dakota, it was looking like this, but it was getting cold fast, and the next morning we were safely away in Colorado at that point, but they got 48 inches of snow.
Yeah, exactly, right where we were staying.
Yeah, so a lot of excitement on that trip, and I guess if we could pass along a couple of lessons learned, I guess the first one on this one was temperature, weather, bringing a little bit of something. Our first stand-up, we were standing there in South Dakota in Sturgis, right on the main street. It was 80 degrees Fahrenheit. We're in our t-shirts, and then the next morning we were getting up and it was almost close to the 0 mark.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially if you're going to be touring in areas that are similar to this, where one side is very desert-like and the other side is very forested. You don't know what you're going to get. I mean, it could be sunny here and raining here, and then you have to cross a mountain to get there, and it's 3 or 4 degrees. So yeah, you need to be able to be very flexible in your choice of clothing and layers that you need to bring on these kind of trips. Right.
The other thing that we learned on this trip was the ability to stay flexible is so important, because we went there to see the monuments and bring you beautiful shots of Mount Rushmore and the Devil's Tower, and it wasn't possible.
Yeah, exactly, and that comes back to the flexibility point that you made. You know, we were there, we had to stay there, so we made do the best we could in that area, and turns out that circling the monuments or going between the monuments, we discovered so many wonderful riding roads, and it was actually a bonus that they were closed. The only thing we missed out on, which I thought was going to be a highlight, was the Badlands, because they are very cool. So if you do get down there, make a point to get there and see those.
Thanks for all these great Ultimate Rides, Norm. This has been a good one. Looking forward to the next one.